How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the One Stop Podcast. You get all your NBA news, rumors, and your hot takes from us three. We're gonna start off with a game recap from last night. The Nets of the Bucks in Game 3. What do you guys think about last night's game? That the Bucks finally came back and won one.
They had to win it. They would have. I mean, you go down 3-0, you pretty much lose. I don't know if there's a way they still win the series, but this is a big win for them. I mean, Nets have been without Harden, so you would expect the Bucks to be doing better. I think the only way the Bucks win is if it's like this again, and it's like it ended in the 80s scoring, so they have to keep it low. Durant was starting to take over at the end. It looked like the Nets were going to come back, and then something happened on the last play. It got messed up, and Bruce Brown took the last shot, which is obviously not what you want with Durant and Kyrie, but this was big for the Bucks and for Giannis.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is that Chris Middleton finally showed up for the Bucks. He struggled game 1 and 2, but he had a big game yesterday with 35. And, when you have two guys scoring above 30, both Giannis and Chris, it's going to be hard to win that game. So I think this is what we talked about before the series. If the Bucks were going to win it, it had to be a defensive grind out. They had to keep the Nets low scoring, and with Harden out, they should be taking advantage of that. And the fact that they only won by 3 yesterday is pretty scary if you're anybody looking to play the Nets coming up, especially if you're a Sixers fan thinking about next round if you have to play them. So, I mean, good win for the Bucks, obviously, but again, it was close. It was really close, and like you said, Michael, they almost had it at the end. KD really had a great fourth quarter, so it'll be interesting to see where this series goes now. But big game 4 coming up. Very big game 4.
With me, with this game, it was like I seen people say it was like a 90s type of game, low scoring, hard-nosed defense. For me personally, when I saw the first quarter of the Bucks, the way they came out, I thought they were on a mission, that they were going to dominate the entire game like we were expecting them to. Giannis was getting out in the open court, not allowing the Brooklyn defense to get set. But then something happened where they just went dry and the Nets came back on them. And you can't let that happen. My thing is with basketball is if you gotta like in the lead like that, you gotta keep that team down and not give them any type of hope of coming back. Bruce Brown did have like some crucial buckets with his little floaters on the pick and rolls with Kyrie and KD. I think he just thought, oh, this is my type of game. I'm gonna take over. Like I guess you could say he kind of deserved to take the shot, but when you have Kyrie and KD on your team, you don't really deserve to take the shot. So that was my only problem with the game. But we got to talk about Jrue Holiday and also Mike Budenholzer. The idea to not take a timeout at the end instead of letting him go and when Brooklyn's defense wasn't set. The spin move, because KD was there also, but you have to respect PJ Tucker in the corner because that's his money shot. So big props to Jrue Holiday on the spin move over Bruce Brown, and Chris Middleton and Giannis just came through finally.
Yeah. I always like seeing when it's like crunch time and they don't take the timeout, because I think the defense is almost expecting them to take the timeout, so they kind of lay off a little bit. So it does catch them off guard. And I mean, Holiday had a pretty terrible game, so that was it was really good to see him like do a nice spin move, get the winning bucket. Do you guys think if the Bucks lose this, that Budenholzer is he on the hot seat?
I don't think so. Because he just did win Coach of the Year, I believe, last year or 2 years ago.
Well, Dwayne Casey won and he got fired
the same year.
See, and that's the thing I don't get. Like, I just, in my opinion, I feel like there's only so much a coach can do, because at the end of the day, it comes down to the players. And I think Mike Budenholzer, his resume precedes him. Wherever he's been, he's succeeded. Obviously, in Atlanta, he led them to the 1 seed. I know they got swept by LeBron, but it's LeBron. And this team's had success too. They've made an Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, they haven't gotten to the promised land, but my question is, if you get rid of Mike Budenholzer, is there really anybody you can find better? I don't think so.
My thing with Mike Budenholzer, it's not the. My thing with that is Mike Budenholzer isn't the problem. I say with this series, like in particular, as a coach, you're supposed to make adjustments. But what kind of adjustments can you make when you have, like, when you're going against Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, two unicorns in like their own sense? Kevin Durant, who's 7 foot and can shoot from the perimeter and dribble like a guard. Kyrie Irving, who has one of the best handles of all time in the NBA history, who can get a bucket anytime he wants. No one can guard him. You can't double team him because if you do, then someone's open, like a Joe Harris, who's also a knockdown shooter. You got Bruce Brown always cutting. It's not so much as making adjustments on rotations. It's more of the players have to come better prepared in what I'm thinking, especially Giannis, because what year is it for Giannis already, and he still hasn't been able to knock down a perimeter shot consistently. Like, don't worry about like a 3-point shot. Like, let's stick to something easy. Try to make a 10-footer because they're giving them like 5 feet, 10 feet to shoot the ball. And like we discussed this earlier, like on Wednesday, he's getting that little turnaround fadeaway in the baseline. But what about that face up in your face? Like, I'm gonna pull it up right there, free throw line. If you can get that type of shot where the defense has to respect you, then they're gonna come out, and then you could use your athleticism and your speed and your strength to get through them. So that's my only problem. That's what's hindering this team from going to the next level. Giannis not taking that next step with his shot.
Well, here's a question that goes off that. This is something that was being talked about in the Back Sports page group chat. Is Giannis the guy? Like, is he a Batman or is he a Robin? Is it even fair to say that because he's a 2-time MVP? He must be a Batman.
I want to know who asked that question. Who asked that question? Who was it? Was it Bill?
I remember.
It better not. I better not.
I don't know if it was asked or if it was just flirted around.
Oh, I remember. I think I remember. I don't remember who said it, but I remember someone bringing it up.
Well, I think that's a little disrespectful, honestly. Yeah, I mean, you said exactly what I was going to say. He's a 2-time MVP. So, and you know, Giannis, obviously, I think he's had his fair share of trouble in the playoffs, but he's also had his successes. And I don't think people talk about that enough. I think more often than not, he's performed well in the playoffs more than he's shied away from the moment. I think the only one people really knock him for is when he played Kawhi and basically got shut down because they just backed up on him. They didn't have to really worry about that perimeter shot. But where is that team without Giannis? And he had a great game yesterday with a 33, I think. He's been playing good. So, Robin, that's disrespectful, man. You can't call Giannis Robin.
Well, go for it. All right, because I do have something that kind of like counteracts what you say about Giannis being being fairly decent in the playoffs. I'll say, because who has he beaten in the playoffs? He's beat Detroit.
Well, the first round matchup doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
they always like the 1 seed. Didn't he beat last year? He didn't beat anyone. He lost to Miami.
No, the Magic.
Oh yeah, and then they lost to Miami.
Who'd they beat this first round?
Wow, we should know this. We are blanking right now. He played Miami this year in the first round.
Oh, yeah. Miami.
He played Miami here.
All right, so we're just gonna base it off those three as of right now because they're the most relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Out of those three, he swept Detroit, he swept Miami, and Orlando stole one game off of them. Mm-hmm. Against teams where he has the advantage on, he's always success. Like, he's always dominated. Like, that team's always dominated the Bucks. But when it comes to teams who put an end to his type of like production, who don't let him do exactly what he wants to do, that's where the team seems to fail. And that's where also the others don't also come through for him or for the team in general. So is it really Giannis? Is it really Giannis being fairly decent against inferior teams? Or is it like he can't beat good teams?
I still, from a number standpoint, I think Giannis performs well, but yeah, he has had trouble winning when it matters. And I think the Toronto series that year, Kawhi was just on a mission, and they just had a good game plan for him. But I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough.
The only thing I'll say on it, I think he's Batman. I mean, he's a 2-time MVP. He's got to be the best on the team, unless he's with like LeBron. But even more than learning how to do a 10-foot shot, he has to learn how to shoot a free throw. Like, I don't know what's going on. It takes him like 15 seconds to do his routine, and I get everyone has their own, but he needs to do it faster. Like he's either thinking about it too much, or he just forgets what he's doing, and he dribbles like 7 times, and then always bricks it.
Did anyone else get mad just watching him get another violation? Like it made me frustrated seeing him get another one.
What frustrated me was the free throw, because I was like, all right, you're going to shoot it now, and then another dribble happened. And are you going to shoot it now, and then another dribble? But I'm glad referees are like cracking down.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know if it's like, this isn't very fair to me. I'm not an NBA player, but I feel like just go to the gym and just work on free throws for like a month and just at least be able to shoot like 70%.
Well, you're getting paid like 40 mil, so
right.
Expectation is you got to at least hit free throws.
I mean, his hands are huge, but come on.
Like, give him that.
Your hands have been big your whole life. It's not like they just got big. You have to learn.
I don't know.
But now we got the Clippers Jazz game, the other game from last night. I guess it might have been a little bit of a surprise. The Jazz took a 2-0 lead. The Clippers kind of fell apart at the end. No one really had a great game. I think Reggie Jackson led the team in scoring, which should not be happening. Paul George, Prabhat's hot take, I guess, was correct. 27 points, but it was not. It wasn't a pretty 27.
Yeah, it wasn't efficient at all.
He seems to get his points at the end when it's kind of over, and he comes up and does a nice pull-up 3, and you're like, oh, that's Paul George, we know. Kawhi only had 21, and it looks like they do a lot of drive and kicks with George and Leonard, and it seems it's always Marcus Morris taking the 3, and he, just from the eye test, he seems to brick almost all of them. So I don't see how the Clippers win this.
Yeah, Marcus Morris went 0 for 5 last night. Reggie Jackson, 11 of 19 for 29 points. But Reggie Jackson, my thing is with him is he's always been a shoot first type player instead of a playmaker. So that kind of hinders the Clippers, in my opinion, somewhat, because your 2 stars need the ball in their hands rather than you shooting the ball. You know what I mean? Because like Dallas, I think what they did was they let Reggie Jackson become that third star and say, you beat us. And I think now against the Jazz, where if Reggie Jackson does take that on that type of role where he's going to try and beat them instead of Kawhi and Paul George, they're more defensive sounded to take it.
All right. Well, I just want to say I'm so thankful that I finally got a hot take right. It has been a long time coming, so I finally did it.
There you go.
I'm hoping I can get another one this episode. But the Clippers, man, like you guys said, they had it. They had a chance, honestly, to win this game, and then they just did not look good. They played bad basketball, and obviously relying on Marcus Morris to win you a game is not how you're going to win the series. And we've already seen that this team struggles at home for whatever reason. They just don't win games at home. They won the one that mattered, so credit to them for that. But looking at this right now, would you guys be surprised? I mean, the Utah Jazz are the 1 seed for a reason. Would you be surprised if they came in, stole game 3, and then they just closed it out in game 4? Honestly, I wouldn't, because they don't look good at home. They don't play good at home. I don't know what it is, but the Jazz, they're on a roll right now, and I think this has done a lot for their confidence.
We've talked enough about the Clippers. They're struggling, but talk about the Jazz more. Every time I watch them, I get higher and higher on them because they just look better and better every game. And I mean, You know, Donovan Mitchell is going to get his points. Obviously, he's done it. He's in the top 4 of points per game in the playoffs, and he's like super young. But the person that I'm really happy with is Joe Ingles, because I mean, he's even since back when Paul George was in OKC, he's kind of had his number. But with Mike Conley out, he's kind of taken that like pseudo point guard role, and him and Gobert, they have like a really nice tandem. And then with Jordan Clarkson on the bench, I mean, he had 24, and nobody else on the bench scored, but he's still enough because he just comes in and shoot. I don't know if he ever passes, but that they don't need him to pass. They want him to just score, and it works out.
So
My favorite player so far in the series has been, well, it's been Joe Ingles, but it's also been Bojan Bogdanovic. Those two, because you got to think about it. They're taking the task of guarding Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Just that in itself costs a lot of energy. But then they're also putting production in the offensive end from 3-point shooting, playmaking. Right now, they're the MVPs right now. Donovan Mitchell, of course, because what he's doing offensively is just out of this world. But those two are doing like the most important job of defending and playing offense.
But I want to ask, do you guys think the series is over? Do you think the Jazz can sweep? Is there a chance?
I think there's always a chance for, especially with the Clippers and the way the Jazz are playing. I think there's always a chance for a sweep, but I don't think the Clippers are going to go out like that. I feel like they're going to take at least one of these 2 games. If they don't take, they're going to take Game 3. I think if they don't take Game 3, then I think the morale of the whole team is it's done.
I think they might lose Game 3, but then, as we all know, the closeout game is always the hardest. So maybe Game 4. I wouldn't be surprised if they got swept. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. But I think Randy wants to come in and say something. Jesse. Yep. Hey, Randy.
Gentlemen, I don't mean to crash your show. I was listening to it. Before, and I was hoping to get on while you guys were still talking Nets Brooklyn. I have to add something to the Clippers Utah situation. You guys can hear me correct, right?
Yeah.
So, we were having a conversation. Bill Ingram, who's the main editor for Back Sports Page, and I were talking about the NBA. We talk almost daily about it. And one of the things we were saying we had a conversation on Twitter this morning about MVP caliber players and great caliber players and stars and superstars that are hungry. Donovan Mitchell is a hungry superstar right now. You saw that when he sat out Game 1 of the Memphis series. He was visibly upset. He wanted to be on the court. He's a 24-year-old hungry superstar. Okay, right now on the Clippers, you have 2 very good players in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, who superstars in their own right. But are they as hungry as Donovan Mitchell and the rest of the Utah Jazz? The Jazz have been hungry all year, whereas the rest of the league has not been. A lot of other teams have just been trying to get by. I'll tell you, the Clippers are not made for success right now. Both LA teams, I'm sorry to say that, Jesse. I know you love your Lakers.
No, it's true. We weren't. It was short off season. We didn't really have chemistry because of practice time. It's all good. Defending champs, still defending champs. Coming back next year.
For at least another couple weeks, they are the defending champions. So, the simple fact of the matter is, with the Clippers, is it's a chemistry issue. I thought it was a little too much when they brought in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. You have 2 guys who pretty much can do the same things, and Kawhi just does it a little bit better than Paul George. I don't think there's enough chemistry on that team for them to get past Utah. I don't think there's enough chemistry between the Nuggets or the Clippers to make it to the next round. That's just my honest opinion. I think both teams are going to struggle through the rest of their respective series. I know Jokic wins the MVP award, but what else does he have around him? It comes down to the stars having enough of a supporting cast. I don't like the Clippers supporting cast. It's too many of the same type of players and not enough depth up front. I don't like Denver's supporting cast around their MVP. I don't think they don't have enough firepower. I think Utah is the most complete team in the Western Conference. Phoenix still has some holes. So if you ask, just to chime in on your topic of the Clippers and the Jazz, I just think the Jazz are more complete. I just think that they're more hungry. And if they were to win a championship this year, I think it's the right team. I think the league fears the Nets winning a championship. I think the league would not be happy with a Brooklyn Utah NBA Finals. I think they would do everything possible right now to get a Philadelphia Los Angeles final. That's what they would really love, but I don't think they're going to get that. Phoenix in the Western Conference Championship Series winning. I think the NBA will be able to deal with that. They do not want Utah there.
Well, if you're talking from a media standpoint, then yeah, you're correct. But you're talking about as a basketball purist, a basketball fanatic.
Oh no, basketball purist. If you're a basketball fan,
Yeah, you want Utah.
Yeah, you're like Utah is the team, but I'm talking about from a marketing standpoint, a business standpoint. There's not much to market with the Utah Jazz. There's a reason why they have a hard time keeping their free agents when it's time. They're building a very nice culture for them there. I think Donovan Mitchell is going to be going through the same thing that Damian Lillard is going to go through if he doesn't win a championship this year. He's going to start wondering what if, and maybe consider going another market. You never know. I know Jesse over there is desperately wanting to get Damian Lillard in a Laker uniform, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think the rest of the way it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm sorry for crashing your show. You guys are doing a great job. Good job, and let's keep it up.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Always appreciated. Great guy, Randy Solia.
Randy kind of mentioned the Nuggets, so I guess we can go into the previews for tonight. We got Nuggets, Suns, Game 3. Suns are up 2-0. Back in Denver. I still think the Suns win. Like he was saying, they're just a better team. Better players around them, and like we said on Wednesday, they really look like they hurt without Murray now. They kind of masked it against Portland, but they're really missing that second scorer. Michael Porter Jr. he's been good sometimes, but he hasn't been consistent enough. I got the Suns.
Respectfully to the MVP, this series is over. It's over. There's literally no chance. I love Jokic, man. He had a great year, but it's done. Neither of these games have been close. Jokic had a better game too, obviously, much better. But the firepower you've got on this Suns team, I don't know how you counteract it. It's too much. The Suns are playing their best basketball of the year. The Nuggets, obviously, they've got their backcourt back, but I think just as Randy touched on it, they don't have enough firepower to compete with these guys. Unless Jokic is going for 40 and Michael Porter Jr. is maybe adding in 30 a night in the same game, I don't see them winning anything. And honestly, I don't see Michael Porter doing that, and I don't see Jokic, and I don't see them doing that on the same night. So respectfully, you had a great season, Joker, but the series is over. My hot take for today, it's 4-0. I've never been more confident about a series.
Wow.
I will be very upset if the Nuggets win tonight. But 4-0. I'm going with 4-0.
All right. Well, if the Nuggets want to win tonight, it's gonna have to come on the defensive end. Because if we've seen it's that third quarter, that pivotal third quarter when Joker goes out to get his rest before coming to the fourth is when things go down. That's where Michael Malone comes in and says, if we're already this down by this many points, what's the point of bringing Jokic in rather than saving for next game? Now expand his energy, especially to a team like who's as hard as Phoenix, who's been making shots, who's been playing defense at a high level, who's just honestly been doing everything, been like the best team. One of the best teams, if not the best team in the playoffs, besides Brooklyn or Utah. Jokic, yeah, like you said for a while, I think the season is over. He does that. The missing Jamal Murray is this is a series. This is a series where they miss Jamal Murray the most, and that lack of a second star is where it's gonna hurt them this time because Michael Porter Jr. has not come through as I said, people have been wanting him to. So yeah, I think it's done. If they don't win it tonight, also like the Clippers, they don't win Game 3, it's a sweep.
So going off between Clippers and Nuggets, who's more likely to get swept? I guess Prabhat, you're going with the Nuggets.
Yeah, I'm going Nuggets by a long shot, and I think the Clippers have a decent chance to not get swept. I'd actually bet against them getting swept. I don't think they will. I think they're a better team than what they're showing right now because they've got a top 5 player in Kawhi Leonard. So I expect him to respond. But the Nuggets, man, I'm pretty sure they're going to get swept. I'm more confident they're going to get swept than they are going to win a game this series, honestly.
I gotta go with the who's likely to get swept. I gotta go with the Nuggets just because the lack of a second star. You could see that Phoenix is the better team. Like all 3 facets of the game, they're the better team. Now, who is the best player on the court? It's Jokic. It's probably Jokic because he could do it all. Unlike Booker, who's not a big man like Jokic, or who. Because Booker can do his own thing, but Jokic is just a different animal. So I think it would be the Nuggets. But with the Clippers, when you have two of the best perimeter wing defenders in the league, you always have a chance. And they did make a comeback last night, but they didn't seal the deal. So I go Nuggets.
I'm agreeing with everyone. I'm going with the Nuggets too. The Clippers have had 2 games where they've pretty much had a chance to win it, and they've missed it. Nuggets, there hasn't really been a chance. The Suns have just dominated from the halftime, really, is when they kind of take over. We got another game tonight, 76ers Hawks. Trae Young back in Atlanta, back in home. I don't think anyone can stop Embiid right now. He's had 2 big games. I mean, obviously no one can stop him. But I think the question of who wins comes down to if the Sixers can slow Trae Young down again. And I'm going to say they can, because Ben Simmons, they're not asking him to do really anything on offense. So all his effort is on defense and just hounding Trae Young. Embiid is taking over offense. Tobias Harris has been doing good. Seth Curry has been shooting well. So I'm going to take the Sixers in this game in a surprise, which may be a hot take.
The public right now, actually, I checked right before we got on today. It is split right down the middle, 50-50, at least as per Yahoo Sports. It is 50-50 right now. So, very big game. I think a lot of people are respecting the Hawks now. Obviously, defensively, they're not that great. They're pretty bad, honestly. But the offensive firepower they have is to be respected. They have shooters across the board. They have a good paint presence with Clint Capella, and obviously Trae Young off the pick and roll with him is deadly. One of the best tandems in the league for sure off the pick and roll. So it'll be fun to see. But like you said, Mike, who's stopping Embiid? It's not Capella. Capella is not stopping Embiid. He has sunned him as per the series. So I expect Embiid to come out and dominate tonight, but I think Trae Young's going to have a big game today too. And I think this is going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a really good game. Must-watch television tonight. So if anybody's watching right now, if you're going to tune into one game, tune into this one. This is going to be good. I have a good feeling about this game. I think it's going to be a really closely contested match. But yeah. I'm not picking. I already made my hot take for today.
I got the Sixers winning tonight. And I say they're going to win. They're going to win in dominant fashion. They're going to win 15-plus points. My thing is with Embiid, I think he's going to have a career night tonight. 30, 15. 30 and 15. I say they're going to go 30 and 15 tonight. The only reason why I say this is because Joel Embiid has embraced, just like Trae Young, Embiid has embraced that villain role.
That's true.
He feeds off the crowd's energy, especially when they're jeering at him. That's when I think he performs at his best. And Trae Young, that whole matchup between Ben Simmons and Trae Young, to get Ben Simmons off Trae Young, he's gonna need multiple screens. But even then, Ben Simmons still has the strength to get through all those screens. And Trae Young did a majority of his damage when he was guarded by like a Seth Curry or a Danny Green. But when he put Ben Simmons on him, just his strength, foot speed, he matches up. He can match up speed wise with Trae Young. So I think that's gonna give him trouble tonight. And I think Ben Simmons just focusing on defense rather than offense is gonna be that's gonna be the turning point in this series. With Ben Simmons, all he really needs to do is just play make. We don't really care. We don't really need his shooting yet per se, even though it's a big help. But as long as he can play make for all the other players, especially the 3-point shooters such as Danny Green, Seth Curry, Tyrese Thybulle, they'll be in good shape.
All right. So before we end, so we're out of games. Let's do a little prediction here. We're gonna go all around. Everyone do a little bit of hot take. Who's your finals matchup, you think, right now?
I've been saying Jazz Nets.
All right.
Fair.
The Jazz are just if you look at everyone, they're the best team. They're the best team. They don't have the best talent, but they're the best team. They're the best unit out of all the remaining teams.
All right. From the Western Conference, I am pretty confident the Jazz are going to come out because they just look so good. Donovan Mitchell's taking that step. Joe Ingles, all these guys, they look like a great unit. I don't think anybody is going to beat them. They look like the team to beat in the West, and I think they're going to come out of the West. The East, it's easy to say Brooklyn, and I'm kind of leaning towards that too, Jesse. I think Brooklyn has to be the favorite, but a lot depends now on Game 4 with Milwaukee. Because if Milwaukee can win Game 4 and Harden is still going to be out, I think Milwaukee can take it, honestly. But they're going to need Chris Middleton to step up. So it's going to be a little crazy. I'm going to go Milwaukee pulls it out Game 4, pulls off the series against Brooklyn, and loses to the Sixers. I'm taking Sixers Jazz. That's what I'm going with.
You know, I was actually going to go Sixers Jazz too. I think we're going to see Embiid's a little upset that he didn't really get nominated for the MVP enough. He's going to come out and really embrace the villain role and just take over. But I think you have to take the Jazz. They look like the best team in the league still.
Yeah. That's my lock. The Jazz are my lock of the week.
You know, it's one thing I've noticed that hasn't happened as much. The Nets don't have they don't have a center. They honestly don't have a center. KD's on their starting center. Why doesn't Brook Lopez post up more and slow the game down?
I don't know.
I
don't know, dude.
Because if they do get Embiid is feasting on Durant down there.
Brook Lopez he's not really that guy anymore.
No, I think he's still that guy. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, he's just been shooting threes.
When he was with us with the Lakers, that's when he started shooting threes, but he still had some type of touch, but I'm not sure. But I wondered that why isn't he getting in the post more?
He's
capable. He's
capable.
gonna feast on them for sure if they do meet up.
Brook Lopez is capable. He can definitely score. They should be taking advantage of it. I don't know, man.
Well, that's gonna wrap up our show today. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys back on Monday.